See, I like that. I like this is something I'm hoping, in addition to seeing publishing decentralize and move out across the country, I like the idea of the person whose name goes on the cover of the book calling the final shots and being wrong and paying that penalty. Fine, but if it's your name on the book, it's your mistake to make. I like this idea of more editors moving out of the traditional system and providing that information, because here you are, you have all this experience, you have all this knowledge, and it's available now, not to everybody. I imagine, again, you're going to be filling up pretty quickly, and you're already on a waiting list for people, but that's a possibility that I can come to you and still call the shots. I'd like to see that more across all aspects of publishing. Some of the best cover designers out there are former cover designers for big five publishers that have now moved on and are doing freelance work. Where do you see the state of the market right now, and where do you see publishing going? Is it moving more toward this author-empowered utopia I'm hoping for, or are we looking at maybe something else?
It's really, it's a tough call, right? I mean, like working in-house, so covers, for example, since you just mentioned that, I think that there is, the level of empowerment really varies, I think, from, even book to book and author to author and publishing house to publishing house. I mean, if you've got a book that is going to be a really big book for the program, like it's going to be like publicized like crazy and so on and so forth, you're going to have more, the higher levels are going to have more of a say in terms of, like what the book should, what the cover should look like, and whether they feel like it's marketable, whether they feel like it's going to stand on the shelf and really be innovative enough to bring in that large audience. And authors are definitely consulted and given, a certain amount of, opportunities to weigh in on the cover design and the direction and so on and so forth. But ultimately, some of those decisions I've definitely had to convey to unhappy authors before that, like, sorry, I know that you really loved this aspect of the cover, but they feel like it's going to niche it too much. They feel like it's not going to, be competitive enough standing up to like the Sarah Moss and Leigh Bardugos of the world. You know what I mean? So, I think that it's definitely varies, depending on what publisher you're at. But the nice thing about the industry as a whole right now is that because self-publishing has become such kind of a normal thing to do at this point, which I really appreciate, obviously, as a freelancer, because it, means that I will have more business long term, hopefully.
My authors are better paid in some cases, for time.
But it has, offered some really great opportunities for people who may, be in that like top 1 or 2% of really great submissions, but aren't that like 0.1 top percent, that gets acquired or something like that. Their books are really great and fantastic. They're just not necessarily, they don't have like that edge that'll get them acquired by a traditional publisher and put out on the shelves. Those people still have an opportunity to put their books out there and to self-publish them. And I know there are so many authors right now that they're making a mint on self-publishing because, at the end of the day, like publishers, the royalties you get from traditional publishers are quite low. And your advances, again, can range anywhere from like $10,000 to like $500,000, depending on how badly they want your book and how many other publishers want your book. But, you only get a certain percentage of royalties from that publication because the publisher is, of course, taking on the financial responsibility and all the overheads and the liabilities of publishing that work, and putting all of the money in up front and hoping that they get a return on their investment, because that's what it is. It's an investment in a product that they hope will pan out and make them a profit. Whereas with self-publishing, you of course are the one assuming all of the liability for that publication, and so if it flops, all the money that you've invested in editing and a cover and so on and so forth is, potentially down the drain. But if it pans out and it actually sells really well, you're going to make more as a self-published author than you are as a traditionally published author.
Yeah, and all you have to do is be able to stomach the fact that there's going to be a certain boomer at a certain conference that says self-published, hey? I don't know about that. If you can stomach that, get past it,
I think
you'll be all right.
I know it's because there used to be such a stigma around it, but I really think that stigma is actually starting to kind of come down a little bit, especially since I think that there are more authors, especially authors that were previously traditionally published, they are realizing that like, oh, hey, I have this massive fan base. I can go out and make a lot more money if I just, self-publish the books myself. My name's already established. And there are some that are doing that, or they're doing a hybrid. They're doing some traditional publishing and they're self-publishing other books, like that are outside of that core series there where they have with a traditional publisher, or they're maybe writing in a slightly different genre that they wanted to write in forever, and so on. So as more of those authors start doing that and embracing the self-publishing culture, I think the stigma of self-publishing has really lessened significantly, which is great because I think that, I think self-publishing is a fantastic opportunity for authors to be able to, kind of control their work a little bit more, really truly own it. Again, like make a little bit more in terms of profits. And, it also, I think, allows them to really write what they're passionate about. Because, so often we have gatekeepers, of course, in traditional publishing and in the form of booksellers and librarians and teachers and so on and so forth, who are like, oh, well, my students and my, the people in my bookstore, they're asking for these books. But like, it seems like that genre is dead. Like vampires are dead. Dystopian's dead, so on and so forth. We're not buying anything. We're not taking anything for stock in our stores in those genres. But then you look at, the ebook market online, and you've got like people who are selling paranormal romance like crazy, and supposedly that genre is dead. So I think it provides some opportunities to write in some really different kind of genres that aren't necessarily selling well in the traditional marketplace, but that are apparently selling like hotcakes as ebooks.
Yeah, I don't care what the market trend is currently. If your book has zombies in it, I'm interested. Go on.
So I think, self-publishing provides an outlet, for those genres and books that may not be deemed commercial at this point in time. But, there's always going to be a reader for your story. May not be a huge readership, but there's always going to be somebody who's interested.
Well, that's what I want, because the traditional system, if I go in there, there's a lot of hope, a lot of wish. The example I hold up is what I believe is a publishing horror story, even though it's touted as an inspirational tale. Was J.K. Rowling goes through 7-8 publishers, and then she's at Bloomsbury, and the executive editor's daughter, this got 5 or 7-year-old daughter. I've got it written down someplace, the exact facts about it, but she picks up Harry Potter and she reads it, and she says, "Daddy, this is a wonderful book. You should publish it." And he says, "Oh, okay. Well, Pumpkin, if you think that's a good book, we'll give it a go. I was going to reject it, but let's try it out." And it's held up as the story. See, if you just hope and trust, then all the good forces and positive things in the universe will line up and things will work out for you. I think that's a horror story, because how many Harry Potter-like books did she not just happen to not be there to read? Yeah. How many did we miss out on?
I know. It's true. So how many, they just feel like that wasn't the right place at the right time, and somebody just threw it away in their nightstand and never went back to writing after that,